Hey y'all, hey! It's Leslie here. Thanks for checking out my channel. And while you're here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Everything I do here is laced with love with my Glowforge. So if you want to know about the Glowforge, you're in the right spot. Let's get started. Hey everybody, it's Leslie here to show you how to make this LED lamp. These bases I did purchase from Amazon. There are a couple of places that you can purchase from, but I get mine from Amazon because they're quick with Amazon Prime and free shipping. But this tutorial is going to show you how to make this lamp. Okay, for this tutorial, I am using Inkscape. This is the software that I use to design my designs. Hopefully, whatever software you use, you are able to take this tutorial and apply it to that software. So for this LED light, I'm using this image, and usually when I make LED lights, it is custom, so I usually add names to it. So I'm going to first add my text. And again, this is just an example that this is how I make my LED lights. So if you have a faster, quicker way, please feel free to share. So how I start off is I'm always going to want an outline for my light. And usually whatever image that I use, that's what I want my outline to be so that it could be just a little cohesive. So for this, in Inkscape, what I'll do to make my outline is I'll go to Path, Object to Path, Object and Group, Path, Union, and then Path, Linked Offset. Once I do linked offset, as you can see, this little diamond pops up, and that is what I'm going to use to expand for my outline. So I like to turn off my enable snapping tool because in Inkscape it will snap back really fast, so it won't let me pull it out like I want to. So what I'll do is I'll take this and then I'll pull it out until I think that I have a good outline. And what I like to do is change the color of my outline so that I can see how big it is around my image. Okay, so once I do that, I'm going to click on my outline and drag it out. As you can see, there are a lot of holes in here, and as you know, with a laser machine, holes are not your friend. There's some holes in this house. No, just to be clear, I said holes, H-O-L-E-S, guys. Get your mind out the gutter. So what you want to make sure you do is you want to get all these holes out of here. So what I have to do is now make this an object to path. And as you see, all the nodes pop up. So all these nodes in the middle have to go. The ones along the sides can stay, but everything in the middle, all of this has to go. So what I usually do, I zoom in and I select it and I delete the nodes. So I'm going to do that. So this may take a minute. So anytime you're making an outline of anything, you want to make sure that you get the nodes out. I guarantee you 99% of the time you will have nodes within your outline. And you have to get them out because it will mess up your cut. You will have holes in the middle of your cut. So get all of those holes, all of those nodes out. And I just like to select them and then press delete. That's the easiest way to do it. So you can get more at once. See these little ones? You got to get those too. Okay, so as you can see, there's no more holes. All of them are pretty much gone. Everything is just on the outside. So now I have my outline of my base. So what I'll do now, I'll usually just take the stroke off and just make it a regular stroke. And then I'll go back and check for any holes after I make it a stroke. As you can see right here, there's a hole here. So I will go back to my node tool and I'll usually just delete the node that is causing the hole. Those will sneak up on you. So always just make sure you go back through and just make sure you check around your outline to make sure that you don't have any gaps or a hole. See this, there's a gap here. So I'm going to take that note and delete that. They're so small, they definitely can get by your eyes. So just always double check. Because what you don't want to happen is if you go print and then you have all these extra cuts in your design that are not meant for that. So now we have the outline of the light. So next what I'll do is I'll drag this over where my image is. And for the sake of the tutorial, I'm just going to leave it just like that. You can always resize this if you want to make it skinnier, bigger. I usually just highlight it and go up here to inches. I like to use inches. I hate mm. So I usually, you can make it bigger or longer. The width that I like to make my lights, I usually don't like to go past about 7.7, 7.8 inches. And for height, I usually try to stick to like 9.8, 9.9. But for this image part, right now, we're just going to leave it here. And now, so I have my outline. So now I have to make the outline for my words because you want all of this to connect together. You want to be able to have a whole outline. So I click my text. And what I do is I go ahead and just add a rectangle around my text, just like this. And another thing that I don't like to do is have sharp edges, especially if you're making these lights for kids or small children. You don't want them to hurt themselves on sharp edges. So I like to, in Inkscape, use these little dots to round out my edges so everything can be rounded and nothing sharp. Let me make my stroke a little darker for you so that you can see it. All right, so now I have my box around my text. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure everything is centered. So I'm going to take this outline and then this outline, select them both, and then go over here to align and distribute and make sure, oops, wrong one, and make sure that they're lined up. Okay. So as you can see, it moved. So I'm gonna have to move this image like a little bit further, put it back in the center. So I did that just to make sure my box and my outline are centered. So next, make sure that you have however big you want your box to be. And usually before I union them together, I select everything and then check up here to see what my measurements are looking like. So that's perfect, 7.7, but I can even go up to 7.8. My height right now is 9.5. And remember, we are going to add a base to this. So I usually leave a little room for it to expand. So I'm 9.5, I think, is a good height. I'm going to leave it there for now. So now that I know that I have my height that I want and the width that I want, I'm going to go ahead and union these together because these two together are going to be my outline. So I'm going to click these both, select both, and then in Inkscape, I go up to path and union. So as you can see what happened, these union together. So now I have one full cut. Now, another thing you want to make sure, this right here is going to be a cut. So you're going to have a big old cut in the middle of your light if you don't remove this. So again, go to your nodes and remove this from the middle because this is currently a cut. And if I were to do this just like this, I would have a cut in the middle of my light. And you definitely don't want extra cuts in your light because the light is not going to be able to travel from all the way from the bottom to the top if you have holes within the LED, if that makes sense. So now I have my outline, and I like to change my outline color just so I can know that's my outline. So that is my outline. That is what it's going to look like. And then I also just make sure I, again, double check to make sure I don't have any holes in my outline. All right, so I'm good. So now that I have my outline, I have my text, pretty much now I have to add the base. Now again, the bases that I use come from Amazon. I don't know the measurements off the top of my head, but what I usually do is add another rectangle, and I have to make those back. And you can make this rectangle like with sharp edges because they're just going to be inside of the light anyway. So what I usually do is I get my rectangle, put it right under my outline, Again, so the measurements that I use, my width, I use 3.8 inches. And again, I just like inches, but if you want to like transfer them into mm's, that's fine too. And then the height, I usually do 0.65. So that will give me just enough. All of this is going to be inside of the lamp. Okay. So once I do that, again, I put it right under where the outline is, and center it again. Always make sure you do center. So let me center that to make sure it's right in the middle. Okay. So once I have this under, I am going to get my Bezier tool. Bezier. And you're going to go, now I like to turn my snapping tool back on so I can make sure that I'm right on the corner. So I click the corner. And just know anywhere you draw this Bezier tool, that is it's going to also be added to your outline. Now, if you don't want the extra space from the light to the lamp, if that makes sense, get as close as you can to the base so you don't have that extra space like in there. So I'll get close to the base and get my Bezier tool again. I like to zoom in, y'all, if y'all haven't noticed. So I go to click here, and you have to go above the outline, however you choose to do the shape. Some people like to come out here, so like it comes out. Some people like to go straight to the middle. It just depends on how I'm feeling, how I do it, but I like to come out a little further. So I just like that shape, how it comes out from the back. The bottom. So just click and draw your shape. Connect them all. And as you can see, it drew me another line. So what I want to do next is I want to select the shape that I just drew, select my outline, and then I'm going to union those together. So path union in Inkscape, or however you do it in your program. And then that comes down to right here. So I'm going to put mine down just a little because there's no space and I don't want it to mess up my measurement. So I put it down just a little bit more after I union that. Oh, sorry. No, I don't. I'm going to put that back. Sorry, y'all. I was thinking about something else. So as you can see, it's kind of like right on the line. So I'm going to have no extra space from the lamp to the acrylic. So now that I did that, now this part, once you union this square, before you union it, I always make it a habit to go back up here and check my measurements just to make sure that I didn't accidentally change my base square measurements. Because if you change the square measurements, it can either be too small or too big for your base, and then you're going to be a little upset once you print and find out like, oh my gosh, it doesn't fit because I changed my measurements. So always make it a habit to check your measurements before you union this last square with your outline. Check your measurements to make sure you didn't change anything. And here I am changing it on accident. So put that back to 0.65. All right, so now that I have that done, I'm going to take this, select the outline, and I'm going to union those together as well and watch the magic. Union! All right, so as you can see, this is what my outline is going to look like. This part right here is going inside of the lamp, and this and everything is the outline. So now from here, you kind of just figure out, are you going to engrave? Are you going to score? To be honest, for names, I just like to score it. So I usually pick like a thick lined font. This one's okay, just for the sake of the tutorial. I don't like to engrave names because they can take a long time. So I just like to use the outline and change my color to pink. That's my score that I use when I know I'm going to score. And for this, I engraved it, but it comes out really darker when you engrave. But I chose to engrave this, and usually for the names, I just outline. So that is how you make the lamp. And if you select everything together, kind of go up here and look at your measurements. As you can see, I'm still at 7.8, but with adding the square, I now am at 10.2. Now, the good thing about it, once you union everything, the only change that you can make is height. If you go and try to make this wider after you've done your base, it will possibly change the measurements of your base that goes into acrylic light, and that's where you get in trouble, where you forget that you changed it and now it's too big or too small. But for this one, I think 10.2 is a little too tall, so I just go back down to 10, and that's usually how big. This is 10, and that's about how big I can get it in my Glowforge. So then you print, and you'll come out with a beautiful LED lamp. Please check out my channel for more tutorials. If you use Inkscape or you would like to see any other tutorials, let me know. I hope this helped. Happy holidays!